Hello. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I'll give everyone a couple of minutes to get set and get comfortable. I am absolutely delighted that you could join us this afternoon. My name is Nina. I am a program manager at INCUBATE, the University of Sydney Startup Accelerator program, and it is my pleasure to invite you and have you join to this incredible first session of the Innovation Insight series celebrating the International Women's Day for 2022. I'd like to warmly welcome you all online and our wonderful people joining in person at the INCUBATE Hub at University of Sydney. So what is today about? Well, the startup ecosystem is incredibly rich and we have some amazing leaders working in this space. And only rightly so, this International Women's Day of 2022 is our opportunity to highlight, celebrate and share the stories of women in this sector. So today we will be joined by Jenny Lee, who I'll introduce you to very shortly, sitting on my left. But before I do, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which we are streaming to you from. That they are the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. And I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. And I really would like to acknowledge the fact that innovation and good communication and skill sharing has happened on this land for thousands of years. And that tradition and on those incredible legacy and those shoulders, we are hopefully going to share some really exciting insights and knowledge with you today. We are incredibly lucky to be so supported by the University of Sydney and the Sydney Knowledge Hub to bring you these events because we invest in and see the great potential of innovation for our future of both Australia and the world moving forward. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Jenny Lee. So Jenny is a strategic focused and results-orientated financial leader. With more than 15 years of experience, Jenny has been working to improve financial governance, working in and advising multinational businesses to help them develop to become high growth startups and helping them to undertake rapid change and growth. Most recently, and why we're most excited to hear her today, she is a partner at Scalare Ventures, based in Australia and internationally. So welcome, Jenny. We are delighted to have you today.
It's my great pleasure to be here. Thanks, Anna, for the great introduction.
Thank you. So before we start, can you tell me what is Scalare Ventures and what do you do there?
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. So Scalare Partners is a community that we formed about 2.5 years ago. We are here to support and back early stage technology business all around the world. So we form communities that have advisors, that have investors. What we do is we bring growth capital to this early stage technology business, as well as we inject expertise, experience, skills. We have advisors that are coming along and really working with the founders as well as their core team to really build these journeys from the point when we enter all the way to the point when the business is ready to move on to the next stage. So that really summarizes what Scalare does. And I'm a partner of Scalare Partners, so I'm also looking at all the investment opportunities. I get to speak to a lot of great founders out there, a lot of great advisors and investors, and really just enjoy being part of this ecosystem that we all belong to. Yeah.
Amazing. So Scalare Partners is an incredible organisation and an incredible role that you are a partner there working hands-on with the startups to help them really scale and grow and exit and be as successful as possible. That's an incredible position for someone with it. And so I bet everyone online, because I'm thinking it as well, how did you get to be there? What is that journey to become a partner at a capital firm?
Yeah, absolutely. Love to talk to that a little bit. So what really got me started is actually University of Sydney. So today, thank you for having me. University of Sydney, this university holds a very special place in my heart. So when I was a teenager at the age of 14, someone introduced these little photos. It's actually, I don't know whether you can see it, it's a very typical angle of University of Sydney. And I was born in China. I've never been to overseas at age of 14. Back then, back in the 80s, we didn't get to travel a lot. So I looked at this photo. I said, wow, that looks really nice. I want to go there one day. So that was my little dream. So again, that was age of 14, and then 2 years later, at age of 16, I came to Sydney. I came to Sydney to really pursue my whole educational journey, to really go for my dream. I didn't get into Sydney U, unfortunately. Got into the University of New South Wales, and I studied commerce there, major in accounting and finance. I think that kind of started with my academic journey and why I got into the whole finance and strategic growth journey. So after I graduated from uni, I wasn't quite sure what to do with my career, but I thought the best place to start is to just dive in, get your hands dirty, try a few different places and find where your heart belongs. So I've done a bit of tax. I worked in public sector tax agency for a little while. I've done a bit of investment banking. And then I took a step back and asked myself, Jane, what do you really enjoy? What's your passion? Why are you doing this? Come all the way to these foreign countries and, without mom and dad and hold my passport for the very first time, all that sort of exciting thing. What do you really want? And then I think back then there was a really loud voice in my heart that I want to do something that's purposeful. I want to build a career that has a little impact to the community that we all belong. So I got into this background screening company, and that helped verify people to see what they are, who they say they are. So I don't know, back then, this is the early 20s, you probably remember we had a lot of news flying around saying, doctors are not really fully qualified, childcare teachers, they have a lot of, young children abuse history, and even bus drivers, they have a lot of traffic offense, all that sort of thing. So I thought I want to get into a career that can really help protect the community that we all belong to. So got into this background screening company. Very young little team back then. This was back to probably 12, 13 years ago. So we had a team of less than 20 people. One of the companies based in Sydney. And then very quickly we got hit by GFC. So a lot of business, they couldn't make it. And we were struggling back then. So I still remember the days, couple of days before the payroll, because I was working in the finance department, we actually called up all the investors of the company all around the world, midnight, trying to get a dollar here, a dollar there, just trying to make the business survive. So we kind of went through that phase. But then, because of, we believe in what we do, because of the persistence, because of the resilience, of course the skill and experience as well. We were led by great leaders back then. We survived. And then very quickly, as soon as we got out of the GFC, within 4 or 5 years, we took the business to another 6 countries within APAC. So we grew the one single business to a group of companies that across 6 or 7 different countries. At a point, we were able to offer employment opportunities to around 350 members, employees, families. That's what it means to us. People that live in Malaysia, people that live in Philippines, those that, that every single dollar means a lot to family and to raise their next generation. So we were able to offer that employment opportunities to 350 families. So that, that is really, that helped me to realize where my passion is to really work with early stage company and kind of build that journey from there onward. So fast track, we had great fun for a couple of years, a lot of challenges, but we got there together as a team. And then the business was really, it was doing really well, and then it was acquired by a US-based, much larger organization. Back then they had about 5,000 staff members. That kind of give us an idea of how big they are. And then I stayed on for another few years to make sure that all the after the acquisition all went smoothly and teams well taken care of. And then I moved on to Scalare Partners about 2.5 years ago. So I think what really attracts me to Scalare Partners is, again, it's the purpose. I think, thinking back about my previous journey, I was really lucky. I met a lot of great leaders who really empower, that gender balance, that cultural diversity, the inclusion. It's a company that, if I look at the leadership team back then, women to men is probably 2 to 3 ratio, so it's fairly even. So I was kind of professionally grew up in that environment, and I thought, okay, because I had that great experience, I want to give back to the community, and I just literally enjoy working with early stage company. I thought, where is the better place? Scalare is it's a great home, right? So I got the chance to work with so many different early stage company, and just really working with all of our advisors and investors within the community to just really give back to all of these business that are growing and needing support at all different levels. But I must admit that the very first year was a bit of shocking year for us, really an eye-opener. Moving into this new space, this, I suppose, entrepreneurship technology in Australia particularly, we saw a lot of imbalance, particularly around gender, particularly around leadership, particularly around entrepreneurs, particularly around within this technology space. And so I remember the first community event that we held, which was back in the 2020. Back then, because of COVID, we could only have, I think, around 50 people in the room. But people who came to join the event, they represent advisors, they represent investors, they represent founders. Men to female ratio is about 1 to 9, so 1 female to 9 male. And our team, I must say that our team was shocked. So Scalare, we have quite a balanced team ratio. Our female to male is about 1 to 1. But just in that moment and seeing all of that, we felt very uncomfortable. So then we decided, okay, well, we are a member of this ecosystem, right? Together with so many other communities out there who try to do the same thing. There must be a little thing that we can do, a little part that we can play to really drive that change, lead that change, or be part of that change. So we then initiated this little program called Be the Change that was formed last year. And really, what it is we spend a lot more time with, first of all, we proactively go out there and look for female founders. We spend a lot more time listening to them, really understand the problem, like why do we see what we see in this ecosystem, what is the root cause. We also spend a lot of time talking to other communities out there that are trying to address the same issue. Some of them are a little bit advanced compared to where we are. They've been around for a little bit longer, so it does some great things to our ecosystem. So we listen to them, we speak to them, to try to understand what they believe the root cause is and what we can do together to really help drive this change. So fascinating, I suppose, discoveries. A lot of it is to do with female founders, particularly. They're lacking that confidence. They play so many parts in their life. That's just the reality, right? They had to give birth, take at least 12, 18 months away from their career. They have to come to the community again, rebuild that networking, that relationship, fill the skill gap. It's just a lot of different elements in their life kind of drive them to that lack of confidence. Even if they have great business ideas, for them to stand in front of investor or amass other founders in the room, they need a lot of encouragement to really bring the best of them out. So that's one thing. And also, there's a lot of studies out there that shows, what percentage of the capital really in the market that goes to female founder.
It's quite shocking.
Very little.
Yeah. I absolutely love that campaign of Be the Change, and how you at Scalare you're wanting to not only recognize the problem but drive and encourage people to really participate in being proactive to find solutions. And I completely understand that there are so many female founders out there who have incredible businesses, but they have considerations that most male founders don't have, it, like you've highlighted. I love your story because there are so many elements that I think people online, both students and people inspiring to be startup founders or even currently working in this space, that can really resonate. You yourself, as you have kind of had that family journey of small scale business scaling up and having that experience of knowing what it's like to build and work really hard to have that bigger vision. So I think that's one of the really incredible values that you do bring to the space, and it kind of makes that connection and drive of supporting change and supporting female founders to progress and have a stake at the table, and really be a part of the community, is really authentic. So
thank you.
I am aware that we have some incredible people joining in online, and we have Imogen standing by to tell us your questions. So we're going to go to questions in a moment, absolutely. But everyone online, if you have any questions for our wonderful Jenny today about investment, what it's like to be a partner at investment firm, about her experience and journeys and any insights, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll come to them shortly. But I'm going to do a couple of my own to get us started. So Jenny, over this time, what do you think, there are a lot of things that people are working on and doing in the ecosystem. I think definitely last couple of years there's been a real movement to support female founders and founders of any diverse background. So instead of focusing on the shortcomings, I'd love you to maybe share a female within the startup space that you admire, that you look up to, someone that we can look to who's making great change and doing great work.
Yeah, absolutely. There are really a lot, I must say. It's really hard to come down to one or two names. If you look at our website, one of our NEDs, Rachel Hoop, she's someone that I really admire and respect. So Rachel is a mum of a couple of children, and she's went through that whole journey of raising a family, build her career, and she's now it's someone in this industry that a lot of people look up to and respect, and she's really supporting the technology, the innovation space and entrepreneurship. So again, I'm not going to go into a great amount of details, but there are a lot of people out there that really believe in I suppose promoting that gender equity, and really believe in giving female or mum returning back to work a chance, particularly if they want to try the entrepreneurship journey. But I think just to summarize and categorize the group of people that I personally respect the most is actually our female founders. All of our female founders. It doesn't matter if they are at the very early stage, or they've been around for a few years, or they're almost ready to exit. I think any female founders out there who, first of all, have a dream, have a purpose to start this journey, and overcome a lot of challenges, still trying to raise the family, still trying to do so many other things in life, and still trying to bridge a lot of technology as well as skill gap, and be able to not just really in a dream, I want to do a business, but they literally just go in and execute, and they learn a lesson. Sometimes they fail fast, they move on, and then they become successful. I think that whole journey is really remarkable. It says a lot about the character. So I pay my respect to all the female founders out there.
Oh, I think that's so true. And I love that you said failing fast. That's something that, is so important with anyone within business, especially startups. It is making sure that you can, if you fail, you do it really quickly and you learn from it and you progress. And I think that's something that maybe female founders are really good at, because there is like a steely focus and commitment that I have seen in some incredible founders, and that's maybe that is it. Maybe because there is more up against them, they have a deeper drive. They're better at kind of learning quickly and reaching out for help. So maybe on the flip side of that, if we're thinking about all those incredibly inspiring and 100% really brilliant female founders, what would be the best piece of advice, or maybe the most common piece of advice that you give out to founders at an early stage when they're embarking on this journey to really take their idea and grow it into something meaningful?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it's three key words. The first one is remain curious, because you never know where this journey will take you. But always embrace, always try, always ask why not. So that remain curious is quite important. Second one is always remember the purpose, why you started this journey at the first place. There's no doubt you will hit some wall. And I suppose, or sometimes when you have to make decisions, your clients might, drive you that way, or spin you around. But always remember why you're doing this. I know that this week is International Women's Week. I know that later on, the next couple of days, you'll be hearing directly from some of the amazing female founders talking about their stories. So so I think this is one thing that you probably will hear from them as well, is the purpose, why I do this journey. And the last thing, I suppose, is always remember you don't have to fight alone. I think entrepreneurship is a really interesting space. It comes with a lot of reward, no doubt, emotionally or commercially, but this is not an easy journey. And so, if you ever need to raise capital, think about all sort of options on the table, investors out there. Is it just money? Do I need money plus help? There are communities out there that people like to work with you to really address the problem, be part of your team, as well as bring smart capital as well. So remember, you don't have to fight alone. Remember, you can always work with people, mentor or advisors around you to make sure that you can get to your final destination a little bit faster.
Oh, yeah. I love that, and I completely agree. It is such an isolating process, and people can feel really alone in looking at that mountain and kind of going, how do I get from day one to international? How do I get those first 1 to 100 customers? And you're right, actually, there is an incredible ecosystem, incredible mentors and advisors who are particularly passionate about helping people take an idea from a concept to something. And it's a privilege that I get to do every day in my work with Incubate, but I can only imagine working with them with funding and investing, you get to really see that other side and you can rapidly scale that growth and that vision. How wonderful. So what we might do is we might throw 2 questions from you online. So Imogen, what's our first question for today?
So Nilesh has asked 2 questions in the chat. One of the questions is very similar to what we've just asked, but there's 2 parts to it, so maybe if there's anything you want to add on. But Nilesh has asked, what advice do you have for someone unsure of how to start their innovation and entrepreneurship journey? And what are the first steps to creating a startup?
Yeah, good questions. Be aware that there are a lot of programs out there that actually support people to get started. Today we're talking to the University of Sydney. But there's a lot of programs out there that really, train you up to be a founder. Basic things like how do you put together a business proposal, how do you build a financial model, how do you ask for funding, how do you build a team. There's also companies out there that help to really build your first version of product. So again, remember, you don't have to do all of this by yourself. So always look out different programs, different support. One thing that we learned just throughout Be the Change is, we listen to the founders, where the challenge is that there's a lot of information out there, but we don't know where to look, right? We don't know where to start. So one thing that Scalare took on board is, we'd love to put together a list of resources, perhaps. If you're looking for a particular program that runs for a few weeks to give you XYZ deliverable, and business resources. If you look for some government grant, for example, some cash to kind of get you started, there are a list of programs, government supports out there that really can make a significant difference from a cash perspective if you at the start of the journey, or there are communities out there that have a lot of advice, mentor. Talk to a lot of them before you actually start. Get their idea, get people to test your business assumption, right? Ask their honest opinion. Do you think this is a great idea? exactly. If you run this, how would you do that? The more that sort of preparation that you do up front, it saves you the steps to kind of go back, forth. But most importantly, at the end, you need to start. That's the key point, right? You can do as many preparation as you want, but really it's that execution. And back to the great summary that Nina put together: learn, fail fast, move on fast, and then keep moving on fast.
Yes.
It's that execution is really the key. Otherwise, a business idea is a business idea, a dream is a dream.
Oh, I love that. And one of the brilliant mentors across the Sydney ecosystem is Brad Deason, and his mantra is, when in doubt, do something.
Yeah.
So I love that. And there are so many resources. There's a Sydney Startup Hub, there's Tech Central, there's, every university has a startup program. There are incredible resources all online, StartMate, the fellowships. So have a Google, get excited, test your ideas. I love that. Test nice and early all of your assumptions. But I also think your point on advice early is really important about remember what your purpose is. What do you actually want to achieve in this, and have that really sound and strong to kind of weather as you explore your ideas. Yeah, lovely. Imogen, what's our next question?
We have another question. What is the key to successful innovation, and what is your most important criteria for choosing a startup to fund?
Oh, that's a big question.
I think first of all is to really understand what problem we are trying to solve. There are a lot of ideas, but what impact does that actually create? So if I wear my investor hat right now, if someone comes to me with a business idea, first thing I looked at is not necessarily the business itself, is what part within the community that kind of face that challenge, what impact can this solution create? So again, coming back to that whole statement around understanding your value proposition, understanding what problem you are trying to solve is a critical point. Yeah.
People often describe it as like an oxygen problem, it's such a big problem, it's such a critical problem that it's like oxygen. If we don't fix it, we'll probably have some bad outcomes. Is that something that you look at? How critical is it?
How critical, how real?
Yeah.
How real? Would I use it? Will my neighbor use it? Will mom and dad use it? Sometimes there's no differentiation of big versus small. Problem is a problem, but that needs to be a real thing that you are trying to solve. So there's going to be an impact. Doesn't matter if it's big or small, but there's going to be an impact that your solution will create to our community.
Yeah, people really need it.
People really need it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Was there a second part to that question, Jim, that we addressed about? Wonderful, great question. Anything? Yeah, please.
Yeah, the questions are coming through, guys, so thank you so much. This question is from Sonia. Thank you, Sonia. Hi, Jenny. How and for what reasons would you encourage women to look at contributing to innovation and really push their creative abilities, especially when many women are balancing and nurturing families, may simply want to work in a less challenging and more comfortable environment?
The mum entrepreneur space is huge, isn't it? Being able to have that flexibility. So yeah, from seeing it, the startups come, where do you suggest they start, what they focus on?
Yeah, I think interestingly, every corner have two sides, right? People often say that I've only got that many hours a day. I need to send my kid to school, dropped off, picked up, I need to prepare dinner. But I've also, heard another version from maybe more and more female founders these days that are also mum, that this working arrangement is actually perfect, because unlike going into an office and working in a big corporate 9 to 5, you actually do have that flexibility, being a mum and also start with your own business. You can do things at night, you can do things very early in the morning. So I start to hear a lot more feedback like that these days. And I think also this whole pandemic situation that teach us many lessons, right? The things that can be conducted in many different ways these days. So I think not letting those kind of bosses or restriction kind of stop us from going for your dream. Again, you can always start small, right? Even if I want to start with just giving this business idea a go, a couple of hours a day, see how that plays out. That could be a great starting point. But just because there are other things in our life that kind of take up hours here and there, it doesn't mean that you cannot go for a particular opportunity. It just means that, bring back to reality, your 24 hours is not going to be the same as other people's 24 hours, isn't it? You might have different bits and pieces. You need to play around with that. But everybody has 24 hours a day. So really, it depends on how you and where you want to use that 24 hours. Yeah.
Nice, great question, Sonia.
We have another question from Knowledge. How do you determine if there's demand for your product? Is it worth pursuing an idea if there's already other products that are similar out there in the market?
Competition talk. Yeah. Competitive landscape. Again, remember the purpose in the problem you're trying to solve. Each product has its unique selling point. I don't know there's one product that's trying to solve all problems. If there is one, then it's probably not the best solutions. So understanding, what brings you to this space the very first time. If I want to address this particular problem, go and look at your other key players within the space, whether they are addressing that, or whether they're addressing somewhat else, although they might look similar. But make sure that your particular product is addressing that particular question that you want to bring attention to the market. Yeah, and always learn from each other. Competition is the best teacher, really. What they've done well, or vice versa. And sometimes, you can partner with them, right? So it doesn't have to be a direct competition. There's a lot of opportunities around, talking to other similar solutions within the market. So turn that to your advantage. It's another angle to look at it.
Yeah, at INCUBATE, we always say competition doesn't mean a bad thing. It means that there is a market there and people are having this problem. And one of our brilliant entrepreneurs in residence, Paul, he always says, okay, what can we learn from those competitors, and making sure that we do our solution, our unique solution, better, faster, cheaper. What is it that makes us stand apart? Yeah, wonderful.
But competitive analysis is very important. And it's one thing that we often encourage people to look at the start, but not just at the start. It's pretty much throughout the whole journey, because people out there, they move really fast. So just really understand, that whatever you believe the gap is, that gap can change over time, and you can turn that gap into partnership and business opportunities if you always kind of stay informed of the overall market movement.
Yeah, keeping your finger on the pulse. Yeah. And I think we might be one more question. Wonderful.
How do you measure impact? What advice do you have for growing impact, especially for startups?
Wow. Great question. Yeah, I love it. I think when we talk about impact these days, a lot of people will probably refer to ESG, right? What
does ESG stand for, just for everyone at home?
Yeah, so your environmental impact, your social impact, your government impacts. A lot of, I suppose, medium to large organizations even make that as a compulsory reporting and requirement when they share that information to their stakeholders, their shareholders. So a lot of people probably will think like that, and especially for early stage companies, it's quite hard to measure, I must say. But we can always start with something really little, right? So think about people that you're working with, your employees, like being part of this little group, the solution that you guys build together, trying to introduce together, how would that impact you? Think of your employee group, and then think about your customer group, right? Does it make their job easier? Does it make it harder? Think about the user of your product. Does it really meet the purpose of why they come and use your product at the first time? So all that little things can turn into a measurement. And then last but not least, think about diversity. Think about inclusion. Are you practicing that in your little business? What about your other customer, your other supplier, that network that you belong to? So all of that can actually bring to the impact measurement. Yeah.
I love that you included diversity, because all of the studies show, and all the businesses, and you can see the more diverse ideas and input and people around that table, the stronger you are for it. So it is a great thing to consider right at the beginning to make sure that you're able to really succeed.
We certainly looked at that. Scalare certainly looked at that quite heavily. So for all the investee companies that we invested, for example, we work with them to really improve their diversity, not just because it's a nice thing to do. We truly believe that if you have a diverse team, either gender or culture, it actually help improve your business performance. Having all these ideas around the table and making those, having those healthy debate and making those business decisions as a result of that, a lot of studies shows that it actually improves the bottom line. And so yeah, so that's one thing that we looked at quite carefully as well.
Amazing. What a great kind of point to end on, you know, in that value of diversity, inclusive all the way along. So we're nearly out of time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for those who joined us in the room, and for everyone online. I really appreciate all of the questions and the incredible insights that you've shared with us today, Jenny. If this session has been interesting, intriguing, hopefully inspiring for you, please know that we have 3 other events running the rest of this week. We have tomorrow, Natasha Rawlings, who is also within the investment space. She is an investment manager at UniSeed Ventures, and she'll be sharing her insights around how they invest in startups and how she works and approaches diversity in her role. And then Wednesday and Thursday, we have incredible founders, female founders, coming and sharing their stories about what it's like to be on the other side and taking that idea and really scaling to impact. So we have the incredible Dr. Amani Bashir, who has brought research into the commercialization world, and she is a chief scientist at BCal Diagnostics, looking at solving and improving cancer, which is an incredible work. And we also have the wonderful founder, A.D. Robinson, who is co-founder at Catalyzer, which is a startup from Scalare Ventures, I'm sure. So we have incredible stories and founders sharing their journeys and insights with you for the rest of the week. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Jenny, for sharing your story with us today and joining us in the space. And we hope you have a lovely rest of the afternoon. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.